Good morning. Thank you for logging in to the California Capital Access Program's Electric Vehicle Charging Station Financing Program Joint Staff Workshop. The workshop will begin in 2 minutes.
Great. Sometimes her dreams do come true.
Yeah, I know.
Great. I'm never off the clock.
Yeah. Did you watch the second one?
I didn't get to.
Good morning. On behalf of the California Pollution Control Financing Authority and the California Energy Commission, I would like to welcome you to the California Capital Access Program's Electric Vehicle Financing Program Joint Staff Workshop. My name is Jason Bradley, Program Manager of the CalCap EPCS Financing Program. Also in attendance here are representatives from California Energy Commission and CPCFA. This workshop is a part of CPCFA's and the Energy Commission's ongoing collaborative efforts to explore methods to attract and deploy private capital into zero-emission vehicle charging infrastructure. Today's workshop will be structured in 2 sections. The first section, I will share some information about the state of the EV market and the CalCap EVCS program. Then the workshop will transition into section 2, which I think is the most valuable section of this workshop, the stakeholder feedback and recommendation section. We have 2 fundamental questions we would like your feedback and recommendation on. They are, what data and/or assistance do lenders or small businesses need for financial institutions to expand their small business electric vehicle infrastructure lending portfolio? And how can the EVCS financing program support EV infrastructure lending in the small business community? Before I begin, I would like to go over some housekeeping. All participants on the webinar will remain in listen-only mode for the remainder of the webinar. If you require technical assistance during the webinar, please utilize the questions section of your webinar control panel, and staff will address your concerns at their earliest convenience. To participate in the stakeholder feedback section of the workshop, please type your questions and/or comments in the questions section, and I will address them during the stakeholder feedback and recommendation section of the workshop. Comment cards are available in the back of the room for those attending the workshop in person. Please complete the comment card if you wish to give your feedback or recommendations. Next, I want to go over the topics we'll be talking about today. So we've taken care of the introductions and we've covered the workshop format. Next, I will discuss 2 of Governor Brown's electric vehicle charging station executive orders and California's EV infrastructure gap. Then I will talk about CPCFA's and the Energy Commission's ongoing collaboration and the role of the EVCS financing program. And lastly, we'll have the stakeholder feedback section where we hope to have a robust discussion about how to assist small businesses attain private capital for the installation of charging stations in California. So you ask yourself, why are we here today? Why is California's EV infrastructure important? I'll tell you, the deployment of zero emission vehicles is key to reducing California's greenhouse gas emissions, as the transportation sector is the biggest contributor to California greenhouse gas emissions and accounts for approximately 40% of those emissions. To address this issue, in 2012, Governor Brown signed the executive order that set the goal of deploying 1.5 million zero-emission vehicles in California by 2025. In 2017, the deployment of zero-emission vehicles remains a priority. As just last week, the governor signed a directive requiring all state entities to do what we're doing today, is to work with the private sector to put at least 5 million ZEVs on the road by 2030. The executive order also puts goals around the installation of charging stations. CPCFA and the Energy Commission want California to exceed its zero-emission vehicles targets. In order to do that, state agencies and the private sector need to make a significant investment in EV infrastructure. So before I talk about the numbers on the screen, I want to share some data with you on the ZEV car sales in California. There are over 360,000 zero-emission vehicles on the road today. And as of October 2017, ZEV sales exceed 5% of all passenger car sales and is trending upward. So to support these 360,000 vehicles, the Governor's Office Zero Emission Vehicle Unit reports there are 14,272 charging stations installed in California. So that's where we are today. And where do we need to go? Well, the Energy Commission estimates California will need funding and financing for at least 344,000 electric car chargers by 2025, equating to a public and private investment of $2.6 billion. This gap is posed to broaden as Californians become more aware of electric vehicles, as electric vehicles become more affordable. And in addition, the car manufacturers are making a significant investment in the development of electric vehicles. For example, right now, there are 42 zero-emission vehicles models available in California. That number is expected to double in 3 to 5 years and triple in 10 years. So how do we address the infrastructure gap? There's been a lot of attention and hope placed on the large settlements against utility companies and manufacturers to provide the funding necessary to meet the needs for publicly available charging infrastructure. But the reality is there will never be enough public funding to pay for the price tag for the charging infrastructure needed. Private financing must contribute to this total investment. Appreciating the distinction between funding programs like grants and rebates and financing programs that encourage private investment. In 2015, the Energy Commission and CPCFA began examining financial structures that could assist with this goal, focusing on the kind of credit enhancement that could address the uncertainty around project revenue that lenders typically look for when considering to make a loan to a small business. So next, I'm going to walk through the program specifications with you with the intent of engaging you in a dialogue about whether the program can be improved to assist lending to small businesses, and ultimately whether or not the current market conditions affecting lending and zero emission technology is conducive to lending to small businesses or multi-unit dwelling property owners. The result of CPCFA's and the Energy Commission's examination of financial structures resulted in a $2 million allocation to establish the CalCap EVCS financing program. The key players in the program are the Energy Commission, which provides funding and policy directions, the team here at CPCFA, which performs all of the program administration and the program outreach and education, lenders, who provide the private capital, and small businesses, which acquire and install charging stations and receive a rebate. The goal of the EVCS financing program is to incentivize lenders to lend private capital to small businesses and multi-unit dwelling owners to promote charging station installation. The program uses a lender loan loss reserve model with coverage up to $500,000 per borrower. The program reduces the overall cost of charging station acquisition and installation by providing the small business with the rebate. Most importantly, this program can be paired with other federal, state, and local programs to bring the cost of charging station installation as close to a $0 amount as possible. The program was designed to have a light touch and to fit seamlessly within the charging station acquisition process. Therefore, there's essentially 5 steps to the program. Step 1, the small business obtains a charging station loan. Step 2, the EVCS program staff enrolls the loan in the program. Step 3, the small business installs the charging station. Step 4, the loan is paid off. Step 5, the rebate is sent to the borrower once that loan is paid off. Program lenders are the lifeblood of all of our CapTop programs. The program will not be successful without participation from our lenders. Currently, we have 10 lenders enrolled in the program, and we are always looking to increase our lender participation. All lenders that participate in CPCFA's other CalCap programs are eligible to participate in the EVCS financing program. If your financial institution is interested, all you have to do is complete our one-page lender application. Which small businesses is the program targeting? Well, we're targeting nonprofit and for-profit businesses with 1,000 or fewer employees that own, operate, and manage multi-unit dwellings, destination centers, fleets, and workplaces. If these locations are located in a disadvantaged community, the small business will receive an additional incentive. What can be financed? Almost any cost associated with the acquisition or installation of a charging station could fall under the purview of the program. This includes level 2 chargers, DC fast chargers, and medium and heavy duty chargers. The labor to install a fully operational charging station is included, and the cost to own, operate, service, and maintain the charging station. Make-ready costs are allowed under the program as long as it's accompanied by the installation of one or more charging stations. Funding for the program is 100% provided by the Energy Commission. There are no lender or borrower contributions, and all loans enrolled in the program receive a base amount of 20% contribution, 20% of the loan amount. There's 2 options to increase these contributions, and that is if the charging station installation and acquisition the charging station is installed in a multi-unit dwelling or in a disadvantaged community. In those 2 categories, a lender would receive an additional 10% contribution to the loan. Now, the borrower rebate. So the borrowers may be eligible for a rebate when the loan is paid off or after 48 months. All eligible loans will receive a base rebate of 10%. As you can see, the example below, we have a $25,000 loan. The base rebate for that amount, once it's paid off or after 48 months, would be $2,500. Like I said before, if the loan supports EV installation in a multi-unit dwelling or disadvantaged community, that rebate will be increased by 5%. So in this example, on a $2,500 loan, the rebate would be $3,750. And the max loan amount for the program is $500,000. Therefore, the max rebate amount is $75,000. The EVCS program was developed as a pilot program to try to spur private investment into the EV infrastructure space. When the program was developed in 2015, CPCFA estimated that the $2 million investment could leverage anywhere between $6 and $10 million in private capital for the installation of around 127 charging stations. To date, one loan has been enrolled in the program, and this was by a private utility company. The loan was in the amount of $11,124 for the purchase of a dual port charger. CPCFA and the Energy Commission celebrated the program's inaugural loan and installation back in February 2017. While only one loan has been enrolled in the program, this one loan is exactly the type of loan that we'd like to support. ANSI Electric Cooperative is a small business and is an early adopter. The cooperative leveraged its existing resources with the program's rebate to bring down the cost of acquiring and installing the charging stations. And while the charging station was intended to benefit the cooperative's employees, the charging station also filled a gap, a charging gap, because it's the only charging station within a 35-mile radius. So now we've come to the portion of the workshop that I identified as being the most important part of today's program. We have industry stakeholders in the audience, and our assumption is you are attending because you want to know how EV charging stations can be financed and understand that public funding cannot carry the entire $2.6 billion burden. As we've mentioned throughout today's workshop, this is a joint venture between the Energy Commission and CPCFA, and we encourage your questions and comments for either agency. Though we may not have all the answers today, the breadth and the depth of your comments will guide us to make the CalCap EVCS financing program more effective and guide our future conversations with the Energy Commission. So now I encourage you to your insight and comments to answer these two fundamental questions. What data or assistance do lenders or small business need for financial institutions to expand their small business electric vehicle infrastructure lending portfolio, and how can the CalCap EVCS financing program support EV infrastructure lending to the small business community?
Do you have any responses?
Okay. All right, so we don't have any comments from the audience, so we're going to move to the webinar.
Okay. So first question, what about workplaces that lease a building? Are they able to participate?
Yes, workplaces that lease facilities are able to participate in the program. All we ask is that the borrower, have site control over the charging station for the life of the loan.
Okay. The second question, equipment owned by separate entities but placed in an MUD on a long-term contract. Is the separate entity eligible for a loan and the MUD boost?
So if the separate entity is a for-profit or not-profit business with 1,000 or fewer employees, they would qualify, as an eligible borrower. And as mentioned in the previous comment, what the program is looking for is site control, and that can be done via a easement or another legal contract. And so as long as the borrower, the entity that's fiscally responsible for the loan has site control over the charging stations, we think that would qualify under the program.
Next question. Are utility interconnections or upgrade costs allowable to be covered?
Yes. The program covers everything from the permitting process, getting the permits to actually install the charging stations, from the utility upgrades to the acquisition of the charging stations, and to the ongoing maintenance and insurance that is associated with the charging stations as well. So all tasks or all costs associated with acquiring and installing that charging stations would fall under the program, as long as it's allocable to the installation of the charging station.
We really appreciate these questions, and we're glad we're sharing information about the program today. And I have one more question. If supplemental power equipment, such as a storage device, instead of a utility upgrade is needed, is it eligible?
So the storage device, as long as the storage device is necessary and allocable to the actual charging station, it would fall under the purview of the EVCS financing program.
Okay, next question. Can the Department of Water and Power rebates be combined with loans?
Yes, the Department of, I assume you're talking about the Los Angeles Department of Power rebate, and yes, it can be coupled with our loans. Not only LADWP's program, but also the Investor-Owned Utilities Program, PG&E, Southern California Edison, and San Diego Gas and Electric. Their programs can be stacked and used in conjunction with our loan programs, including the local programs as well.
Okay, I think instead of a question, I actually think we have some feedback on our questions. And that feedback is, for businesses that have sustainability goals, data on how workplace charging furthers these goals would help get more businesses on board.
All right, thank you for that comment, and we'll definitely consider that, as we move forward with our talks with the Energy Commission.
Could you clarify, or could you ask the comments or clarify questions? Is it how workplace chargers are actually used, or the value of it to the business that operates the workplace chargers?
No. Can you introduce yourself and?
And we have a member from the California Energy Commission coming to ask clarification on the question, or on the comment.
Hi, this is Noel Chrysostimo from the California Energy Commission. If the person who is asking about the workplace charging data could type in more detail about what type of data that they would need in order for the program to be more attractive, that could help our discussion with CPCFA. And so one idea was if you were interested in how utilized the equipment was, or say the value of the charging system to the site host, any detail into the intent and meaning of your question could help. Thank you.
We're checking our questions right now.
So we have a verbal comment. Okay, his name is Jeremy, and I'm not reading now.
Oh. I'm sorry, did you want me to respond verbally?
Go ahead, Jeremy. Thank you.
Just introduce yourself.
This is Jeremy Whaling, American Honda. And you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. And hello, Noel. Good to see you again. Yes, so for our workplace charging, I've noticed that a lot of companies have sustainability goals. And the sustainability goals tend to be either renewable energy, increasing renewable energy, or decreasing, waste and various things. So there's quite a bit of different. I've noticed within businesses, different goals, sustainability goals of all shapes and sizes. So I think with workplace charging, a lot of these companies really don't understand that, like, just the impact of being able to have zero emission vehicles, and you're reducing lots of greenhouse gas emissions and stuff like that. So I don't have any sort of specific data that would say you show this one piece of data and everybody jumps on it, but certainly providing, I guess, I don't know if there's any case studies, or we have different data on our charging stations, but I think showing small businesses that this helps, further employees and all kinds of different things like that would be very useful in terms of like marketing the program.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Okay, another comment. Perhaps another issue is to assess why small businesses are reluctant to take advantage of this program. The issue may not be the program structure, but the basic economics of a small business installing EVCS in the first place. If there is no viable revenue stream or financial benefit, EVCS may be viewed more as an amenity rather than a revenue generator. Another comment. Oh, actually, I have two questions. You ready for some questions, Jason?
Ready for some questions.
Are Bay Area Air Quality Management District grants allowed as well?
Yes. All local air district rebate programs for charging station infrastructure can be paired with the EVCS program.
And a second question, is a separate loan required per property address? We have several locations to install into.
No, we can have one loan for multiple locations. We anticipated in the program development stage that a property owner may own multiple properties, and so we designed the program to accommodate that situation. Okay.
I think we have another comment coming. Okay. Another question. Has CPCFA reached out to local air districts to inform them of the EVCS financing program, which can be utilized in conjunction with their local infrastructure grant program?
Yes, we've reached out to all of the local air districts, including the Bay Area Air District, Los Angeles Air District, South Coast, and the San Joaquin Air District. And so we continue to provide program education and outreach because we do see this program as we do see this program as a perfect fit. This program provides the upfront capital needed for a small business to install the charging station, and then the loan can be paid off via the various the various grants that are out there to try to curb the costs for the small business.
Next question. Do new businesses with no real revenue qualify for the loan program?
So that would be the loan loss reserve model. We work with lenders, and lenders are instructed to follow their own independent underwriting and evaluation of their credit worthiness. We ensure that their credit worthiness. So the program does not dictate, what that credit worthiness is, but we expect them to follow their standard, and we expect them to follow their standard underwriting practices. And so, startups, would be eligible for the program.
We appreciate all these comments. Thank you. I have a couple more. Can you review the terms of the loan to ANZA Electric Cooperative? Interest rate, was the loan paid off? What was the net cost to the borrower? Was the net cost after the program incentives were provided, i.e. early payoff, etc.?
All right. So the loan was paid off, about a month after the loan was issued. The ANZA Electric wanted to take advantage of the rebate, and the interest rate was about 9%. So that was the interest rate on that loan, and the rebate was about roughly $1,100.
If the ANZA lender is available, can he or she provide feedback on the transaction and program?
Sure. We can reach out to a borrower at ANZA and to provide feedback.
The lender. I don't believe that the lender is on the phone today, but we can make that connection available.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we can do that. And we have a comment in the room.
Hi, my name is Judy Robinson. I'm part of the Sacramento Area PES Collaborative. I initially looked at this program, and I don't mean to sound unappreciative, but it's really hard to convince business owners to put in electric vehicle charging unless it is something that's really a bottom line philosophy of their business and their entity. 9% interest rate is really expensive money. The rebate is nice, but it's not nearly enough. Folks almost need to be given a free charger just to be convinced to bear the responsibility of having it be put on their property, manage the chargers, and then even work with the second party, whoever that might be charged for or whatever, just to make sure that they continue to be operational, work with separate metering. You have to really want to do charging and have that be part of your business model in order to put electric chargers on your property. So we really are working hard to advance charging infrastructure, and so a lot of our grants, our PES Collaborative members are our air district, our utility district, cities, Electric Vehicle Owners Association, a host of others, and trying to find property owners who are willing to at least let us come in with separate grant funds or whatever to locate the chargers on their property is probably the biggest challenge. So you kind of need to rework the program. And it needs to be shifted around because it's not worth the effort to try to go forward and try to apply for the funds. We've been extremely thrilled that we've been working with affordable housing developers, and we've been able to partner with them through CAR funding and do electric vehicle car share programs through the Zipcar program. But the affordable housing developer and owner, has had to incur some costs in even having all of this be provided for them. So I hope those comments help. I mean, I would love for there to be a program that when someone comes in and they're pulling a building permit and they're required to put in the charging infrastructure, for us to say, hey, if you're willing to put in a charger, there's a grant program or a zero interest loan program that'll cover 80%, 90% of those costs if you'll work with us to put it in. And then we can try to, fill that 20% gap in whatever means. But that's a huge shift from where the program currently is. So
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I have another question. What is the maximum time period that the loan can be for?
The program provides coverage of a loan for 48 months, and so that's how long the loan can be enrolled in the program. Now, the loan can be written for longer than that time period, but that 4-year period is when they would have coverage over the for the infrastructure loan through the program.
Okay. And now I have a comment. As a suggestion, startups do not have a commercial revenue history for the EVSE. Having a credit enhancement aspect specifically on the EVSE would be helpful. Otherwise, commercial uses such as EV service providers can't participate, as there is, in general, very little history on the EVSE operations revenue.
Thank you.
Okay. And another question. How are lenders marketing the program?
So lenders are marketing the program in a variety of ways. I know that they are offering, the program, to their book of business. They have done that in the past. The challenge is, with our lenders and what we're hearing, from our lenders is the technology is new, it's green, it doesn't generate a sustainable revenue stream, and the technology has not been proven. I mean, so that's been the major challenges that our lenders have been having.
And I'd actually like to add on to that. I'm the outreach manager for CPCFA, Janie Davis. And as far as how lenders are marketing the program, all the lenders, of the 10 lenders that are enrolled in the program right now, they're all very established lenders in our larger CalCap program, which is we have a general CalCap program. We have a CalCap program that we work with ARB on heavy-duty trucks to help small fleet owners get clean heavy-duty trucks. And those two programs are quite successful, and they've been in existence for a number of years. We have millions of dollars in financing, and for example, in our truck program, we just hit 15,000 loans in that. So the lenders who are enrolled in this program are very knowledgeable about CalCap, and the marketing that I've seen is part of their marketing of all their CalCap programs. And in addition to that, we invite the lenders to come to any of the outreach that Jason and I do as well. So we try to bring them to the borrowers as much as possible, or to the utilities as much as possible, or wherever we're going, we try to invite the lenders to educate them and to try to get them to make those collaborations as well.
Okay. We want to thank you for your comments, and feedbacks. Yeah. And we have just a couple of questions that we want to ask, just based on our during staff's education and outreach activities. We've had conversation with many lenders and many stakeholders about the market for small business EV infrastructure lending, and we've heard many different responses. And we've summarized these comments on the next two slides, and we want to ask for the audience's comments and we want to ask and solicit your feedback on the following questions. So we call those myths. So we ask the audience, are loans for charging station installation too small for lenders to develop a loan portfolio? And I know we have a few lenders on the line. If you can, chime in and give us your feedback and comments. Okay. All right, no comments. Number two, is there too much uncertainty about the useful life of the charging station technology, outliving the term of the loan? I mean, is that an impediment for robust participation in the program? Okay.
Jason, could I ask a question?
No, if you somebody wants people in the thing.
This is Noel from the Energy Commission. Jason, could you clarify what the myth is kind of positioned as? Is it supposed to be a question, or is it a concern about what CPCFA has found around potential impediments to the use of the program?
Right. The myths are feedback that we receive, from the lending community as we, conduct our, outreach and education, about the program. And so, the purpose of it, this is what we're hearing, so we want to solicit feedback to see if is this really an issue? As you mentioned, is this an impediment to starting a EV infrastructure, portfolio, from the lender's perspective?
Okay. Thanks for that context.
You're welcome. It looks like we have one comment to the second question.
The comment is, I would say more of the warranty and company longevity behind the equipment is a bigger concern.
Okay, so the warranty and the establishment of the company longevity is a concern.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we do. We do. All right, we have two more. Is there too little data on the direct and indirect revenue that can be expected from charging stations? Okay, do we have any feedback for myth number 3? Okay. And lastly, do lenders need a different type of incentive to offer a charging station loan? Four comments? Okay. So give us just 1 second. We are receiving some feedback. So we are going to open up the phone line for Jeremy. He wants to comment on one of our questions.
Okay, there we go. Now I'm unmuted. Yeah, so from one of the things that we've noticed through our stations is that we have quite a bit of data on our revenue. So we charge for charging for our charging stations here at Honda, and we've tried pricing it at various levels. Basically, we have found that if you go too far above home pricing, the charging stations aren't they aren't used very often. We have some drivers that they need to charge at work in order to make it home, either on electricity or they don't want to burn gas. But we've had drivers that basically, if they have the range to do a round trip commute with their vehicle, they're very price sensitive, and if they find that charging at home is cheaper than charging at work, they don't plug in. So we have quite a bit of balance between, wanting to provide charging for our employees and still being able to collect enough revenue in order to support the station's operation versus, competing against this sort of voting with your wallet. So we do have that kind of going on. And we found that the best balance is slightly below home charging, along with a demand fee mitigation and basically a demand fee exemption from Southern California Edison. So we price our charging stations right about what we pay for electricity from Southern California Edison. And that allows for basically a sustainable model of, we've our stations are purchased through a CEC loan, or sorry, CEC grant for the stations. We paid for the installation, and the electricity is sort of self-sustaining. The drivers are paying for that sort of indirectly. But in terms of being able to pay back, like the cost of the installation was quite a bit higher than the equipment cost, and we don't really see a good way to recover that cost, at least with the stations and with the method that we've gone with. Of course, with a smaller business, lower amount of stations, you may be able to tie into an existing circuits or the buildings circuit. We actually have a dedicated feed from Southern California Edison for our stations. So there's different lowering of the costs, but overall, the biggest challenge right now is, I don't want to say it's not even the financing. I think that it comes down to, if a company wants to provide it, and they don't have any sustainability goals, that it's kind of like needs to be revenue neutral, is that drivers typically don't want to pay the higher cost associated with charging. That would include things like paying back the equipment loan or paying back the installation, along with commercial electricity, which can be more, and if unmanaged, usually is more than the cost of home electricity. So you have quite a bit of challenges there that, it's a loan doesn't quite solve them although I'm happy to see this kind of stuff exist. So for those that maybe that is a barrier.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you for feedback.
One comment to that.
So we do have another comment, and this comment just states that the revenue history of EV charging is is too little.
Okay, I have a comment here. We understand that revenue history for EV charging is too little. So myth number 3 is not a myth. EVSE revenue does not really kick in, especially commercial EVSE style, until 3 to 6 months after the EVSE is in place. People tend to buy new vehicles after they are comfortable that there is a charging station available in their daily routine. Let's build first and then wait for revenue. The conundrum.
Right.
Thank you for that reminder. Okay. Another question. Are you currently working with EV charging station vendors and manufacturers?
We are. We've conducted outreach to vendors, manufacturers, service providers, and what we're hearing is that the industry is not ready for a loan product. I mean, essentially, they are able to package multiple grant opportunities and offer free charging, just like we heard earlier today. From Judy, they're offering free charging packages to site hosts and site owners. And so we understand that this program is a financing program, is a loan program, and we're looking to the future, and we need to find that balance on how that we can provide public funding, but also spur private investment to reach the goals of the governor.
Okay. Another comment. Also, in MUDs, there is a large cost to the building owner for placing EVSE, and so they typically look for rent from the EVSE stall. And they added a comment to Honda. PG&E charges more for commercial electricity than residential electricity.
Thank you. Thank you for the comment.
Here's a comment. We typically need a 10 to 15-year loan, and the 48-month coverage is not revenue effective. Appreciate that insight. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any last comments? We appreciate your insight, and thank you for taking the time today to for your participation, to give your comments, to give your recommendations. CPCFA and the Energy Commission is committed to working together to identify methods to attract private capital for the installation of EV infrastructure in California. Your comments are valued, and as I mentioned, will guide our further discussions with the Energy Commission. If you would like to provide written comments are due on February 9th by 3 p.m. They can be emailed to the CalCap email box, calcap@treasurer.ca.gov, or mailed to the address listed on the screen now. Please put the CalCap EBCS financing program, in the subject line of your communication. The presentation will be available on our webpage this afternoon, and we recommend that you share it with others who might want to comment on this issue. Thank you, and I hope to see you at the future workshops as we continue to address California's infrastructure gap.